So we know that San Francisco has a human waste problem. There was a story I covered a while ago about the Poop Patrol. It's city workers whose job is to go around cleaning up poop off the streets. Don't ask me why, but for some reason, there tends to be very left-leaning cities that have poop problems. Okay, and cities is plural now because this story from Pluralist, Portland police say they're not allowed to stop people from pooping in the street. You know what? I was going to ask. I was going to do a video saying, like, I wonder why it is that there's so much poop all over these cities. We have our answer. The police aren't allowed to stop people who are pooping in the streets. What? First of all, Pluralist, what is that? What is this photo? Who is this guy? And are you implying he's the one who pooped? Okay, I question this photo because it looks like a stock photo, but I digress. Let's read the story. Actually, before we get started, head over to timcast.com/donate if you would like to support my work. There are multiple ways you can give. The best thing you can do is share this video. And maybe you shouldn't actually, because I think, algorithm aside, your friends and family may be asking, why are you sharing with me a video about people pooping in the streets? And you might then have to explain to them. Now, if you think it's an important issue, please consider sharing it. Let's read. From Pluralist. Let's see if I can make this a little bigger. Yeah, I can. They say, Portland has a serious poop problem. The Oregon city recently acknowledged that it removed 3,300 gallons of human waste from the streets in the past year alone. My. Portland. However, the police say they're powerless to stop homeless people from relieving themselves in public, even if it happens right in front of them. Sergeant Kevin Allen, a public information officer with the Portland Police Bureau, told Pluralist, it's a topic officers that work downtown hear about somewhat regularly. The complication, he said in an email exchange, is that an Oregon court last year barred authorities from using a state law in cases of public urination and defecation. I'm not aware of a legislative fix. So at this point, we are unable to address the behavior from a law enforcement standpoint. Hold on! You mean to tell me that a court in Oregon is saying you can't stop people from pooping in the street? That's... what? If somebody's pulling their pants down, you take them away. Like, I'm not saying you like arrest them and lock them up for the rest of their lives. But if you don't enforce people pooping in the street, what are you enforcing? There's disease risk. There's the fact that it's human waste in the streets. Wow. Is this what it's coming to? You know what, man? Stories like this are, I know it's cliche to say, but Trump 2020, it's from this. Listen, man, you've got people who live in Portland who are probably very left-leaning, wondering why police aren't allowed to stop people pooping in the streets. Who wants to live in that? I would leave. But I guess a lot of people don't mind walking around dodging poop on the ground. It's San Francisco, too. What is going on with these cities, man? With the police paralyzed, Portland has resorted to expensive cleanup efforts after the fact. Could you imagine if, like, someone came into your house and, like, was about to take a dump on your floor and, like, your wife or your parents or whoever were like, no, don't stop him. Let him do it. And you're like, but he's taking a dump on the ground. Hey, just let him do it. And then once the guy finished and walked away, he went, now clean it up. I'd be like, what? You're going to make me clean it up? The taxpayer has to pay for this. Okay, they're already paying for police. Then the courts tell the cops not to do anything about it. And then they have to tax you more to go clean it up. Why would anyone in their right mind live in this place? I moved to the suburbs. I'm in the middle of nowhere, okay? I'm increasingly trying to get away from this kind of insanity. They say, according to a recent analysis by the city, as many as 450 reports of human waste are filed with Portland's homeless complaint system every week. What? Every week? Each time a crew responds, it costs taxpayers $316. Something is seriously wrong with Portland. I got to say this, man. You know what? We need a federal intervention on this, okay? I'm being I'm like half joking about it. But if Portland isn't allowing people to do this and they're charging, look at 450 times 316, and you pay for that, Portland residents, why would anyone in their right mind live in this place? Fearing urban blight or an outbreak of infectious disease, Democratic Mayor Ted Wheeler and the Portland City Council agreed to spend some $900,000 on portable toilets and bathrooms for the homeless in the coming fiscal year, the Oregonian reported in June. The larger issue, of course, is homelessness itself. As Portland has grown into a hipster mecca, The homeless population has become increasingly desperate and increasingly visible. You know what? I'll say this. I can't tell you why homeless people are attracted to cities like this. New York has homeless people. Chicago does. Los Angeles has, some of the worst homeless problem, but not the worst of the crisis, garbage, filth everywhere, but not the most homeless people. So I can't tell you why homeless people flock to these places, but I'd be willing to bet. I have a great citation for you. South Park. South Park did an episode where the homeless people started coming to South Park because Kyle gave a homeless guy $20. Well, sort of. That attracted all the homeless people to his house. It then turns out that there was a neighboring town, in order to deal with its homeless problem, created brochures telling all the homeless people to go to South Park. The gist of the story was, in order to get the homeless people out of South Park, they drove around in a bus singing a song about how California will give you all these benefits, how they're so nice to the homeless, and it's better there, and all the homeless people start migrating. The point is, when you offer up all these benefits, we're going to give you this, that, and this. We're going to give you these benefits. We're going to give you food stamps. We're going to give you shelter. You attract homeless people. It's kind of it's kind of sad, really. The intention is great, but the result is devastating for the people who live there. You want to help the homeless population, but it seems like your proposed solution had the opposite effect. It didn't stop anyone from being homeless. It just attracted the homeless people to come to your city. I think LA, weather is a big factor. If you're homeless, why would you? I'm surprised there are homeless people in Chicago. I gotta admit, Chicago's weather is nightmarish. The summer is like 90 degrees and maximum humidity, and the winter gets like minus 27 wind chill. So those are some brave homeless people. But I can understand California, but apparently weather isn't a factor. I've gone over the numbers, not a factor. So I hate to say it, but I think the solutions they offer up, look, putting toilets out is not going to solve the problem. A lot of these people don't care. They're going to poop wherever they want, no matter what. You add these toilets, and people are going to hear, oh, wow, they're setting up benefits for us for free, and they're going to go. So what do? When you look, I believe there are ways to solve these problems through government programs and social programs, but I also believe that when you can see a fault and an error, stop now. Okay, perhaps you need law enforcement on this to stop people defecating in your streets. Man, you know what's going to happen? The people who make these cities profitable or valuable, they're going to leave. Why would you run a business in a town where there's crap all over the streets? Why would anyone come out to go to your cafe when there's crap in front of your store? So people are going to leave. And you know what? I'm not going to say this is the reason, but big cities are losing people. People are leaving. I think this may have more to do with the internet economy, the attention economy, and, digital infrastructure. I'm now able, I'm looking at setting up an office for Subverse and expanding all of this. It's going to be great. We're going to be hiring people. It's going to be nuts. And I'm not interested in anywhere near these big cities. I'm trying to get as far away as possible. Internet infrastructure is fantastic. Airports aren't too far away. And I don't need to be in these places where there's poop all over the streets. Now, I'll say this. New York has had rat problems. They've had poop problems, but it doesn't seem to be this bad. Something on the West Coast. I don't know what it is, but I can tell you, SF, weird town. It's like a very lefty town, but also very elitist. Portland, however, is like Twitter in real life. That's how I've explained it before. Like, people in Portland are extremely politically active. Not all of them, but way more than you'd expect. Let's read a little bit more. They say in 2015, Portland declared a state of emergency in hopes of securing additional federal and state funding to respond to its homeless crisis. Yet over the past 2 years, Multnomah County, where Portland is located, has recorded a nearly 40% increase in the number of chronically homeless people. In a profile of the problem last month, Fox News found that conditions have gotten so bad that it's hardening even the most liberal of bleeding hearts. I put blinders on a lot, said a local bagel shop employee, identified only as Shannon, like tunnel vision. I choose not to acknowledge it. How do you keep a city alive? How do you keep business, coming? If people don't need to be in your city and there's poop everywhere, why would they be in your city? And what do you do when they leave and the economy starts taking a hit because of this? They say Portlanders are not alone. While federal statistics show homelessness trending downward nationwide, a number of American cities have struggled with vagrancy and the attendant toll of human waste. Bloomberg Businessweek reported in November that at least 10 West Coast cities from LA to Seattle have in recent years declared states of emergency because of out-of-control homelessness. Listen, man, the weather in Seattle can be cold and rainy. I don't think weather is a factor. You can go to East Coast areas that have pretty, decent weather. The only thing I can put my finger on is these West Coast cities tend to have very liberal and progressive policy. Let me tell you a story, man. About, what was I? Maybe like 20 years old. So this is like 13 years ago. I moved to Seattle. I was there very briefly for several months. And as soon as I got there, I was broke. I literally had a handful of change. It's all I had. And I was told by some local, I don't know how to describe it, low-income individuals, but not homeless, that I should go to Health and Human Services and get benefits. And I was like, no way, man. Like, that's not for me. I'm not, poor, whatever. And their reasoning was very simple, that the benefits are set up for people who move to the town who want to get a start and need assistance. It's not the assumption that you're helpless or poor. It's that you're going to the city and saying like, hey, I'm going to set up here. I'm going to find a job. And so I was like, oh, hey, that's a good job. That's a good idea. So I went, I was 20 years old, broke. I went to it's like DHSH or something, health. I don't know what it stands for. And I told them like, I'm broke. I really don't think this is for me, but I'm looking for a job. And they like just tried shoveling benefits in my lap. They gave me bus passes. They offered to pay for college. I kid you not. I don't know if they could or what the deal was, but they said, community college can be covered through the city. And I was like, that's fine. No, I'm not interested. They ended up giving me a food card just like that. I got a job almost immediately. I went and started working for a local Pete's Cafe in Seattle. I was only there for a few months, but to me, I was kind of surprised at how easy it was to get benefits. Because for me, there's this thing, I guess, between, me and my friends growing up. I don't know what it is, but we all like profoundly rejected the idea of benefits, food stamps, unemployment, whatever the welfare might be, because we always assumed it was for someone else who was poor. I certainly respect these programs, and one of the reasons I believe in them is that I have used them in the past legitimately, and it has seriously helped me. I've been homeless before, so when I've been able to receive benefits, it saved me from from being starving in the gutter. However, I also recognize you've got an exploitation problem, and it also attracts the wrong kind of people. I get the idea. I don't know how you solve for this. I really don't. If you've got someone who lives in your community and they lose their job and something bad happens, their house burns down, who knows what, I think it's absolutely the right thing to do to come together and say, we're going to take care of you, man. We're going to make sure you don't get left behind because this wasn't your fault. That's how community is supposed to respond. But then all of a sudden you get these other people who are like on the other side of that door, hearing that conversation, going like this with their ear, and they're like, ooh. Then they come in and say, well, I'm homeless. Give me a hand. And we go, oh, okay, we'll give you a hand. Then all of a sudden, just like South Park says, they all start coming in to try and exploit the system. I don't know what the solution is. Don't ask me. I think these programs need to be corrected for corruption. It may be true that the corruption is very limited, but I have to wonder why in more conservative cities we don't see this and why it's impacting the West Coast so much. I really don't know. It might have nothing to do with politics. It might just be the general westward direct. Maybe it's magnetism. People are just directed towards the west. I'm making a joke, okay? I don't know why this is happening. All I can say is you take a look at all of these West Coast cities that tend to be very left-leaning, like the whole West Coast, and then I have to wonder why they have out-of-control homelessness and feces all over their streets. It's a health hazard. We're hearing about leprosy. There's fears that there could be an outbreak. Now, the AP has tried to downplay that, but it doesn't matter. It's the rats and the feces. There's a fear of bubonic plague. There is a typhus outbreak in LA. I don't know if there is right now, but there was. They say, why Portland police can't stop people from pooping in the street. With the possible exception of San Francisco, no city embodies the conservative caricature of progressive administration more than Portland, where officials tolerate semi-regular clashes between Antifa and right-wing activists. When it comes to public defecation, the Oregon Court of Appeals decided in State v. Corsilius that a 2017 state law against littering does not cover public urination. Alex Hamalian, a criminal defense attorney who works in the Portland area, told Pluralist that the Multnomah County Prosecutor's Office may be wary of applying the law to cases of public defecation for fear of costly legal challenges based on the court's ruling. Similar calculations may also prevent enforcement of 2 Portland ordinances that directly prohibit urination and defecation in public, Hamalian said. He doubted, though, that the ruling actually applies to the municipal code, which specifically addresses urination and defecation. Anyway, Hamalian said, the Oregon Legislative Assembly could easily pass a law to empower police to bust public defecators. But in his estimation, lawmakers are too busy fighting over pie-in-the-sky legislation, so they kind of let it hang. Others have blamed Portland's liberal politics. Last July, Mayor Wheeler announced an investigation of the Portland Police Bureau based on activists' claims that officers were systematically harassing homeless people. Oh no! The probe by the police watchdog agency ultimately proved inconclusive. You want to stop the pooping and you get accused of harassment. You know what, man? These people, they've lost it. As a result, our city has become a cesspool. Pluralists reached out to the Multnomah County Prosecutor's Office, the Portland Mayor's Office, and the Portland Police Association for comment, but did not hear back by the time of publication. Himalayan, a registered Democrat, said that politics aside, the police union was right about the state of the city. The amount of public urination and defecation has risen to just a sickening and unhealthy level. You see it. It's just every day. I find it odd for somebody of my politics to be saying this. There needs to be something done, either through the criminal justice system or through the social services program. I have an infant, and it's horrifying to me that I could let my infant walk down the street in Portland and they might step in pee or feces. You reap what you sow. You vote for this, that's what you get. There it is. You know what, man? If they're even citing progressives who think it's progressive policy, well, maybe it's time you change something. It doesn't mean you go all the way to the right on every issue. It means maybe you sit down and listen because your ideas didn't work. But the problem's getting worse. And also, just to end, I don't like it when they use these stock photos because I don't want the people to think this guy's pooping in the street. I don't know, whatever. Stick around. Next segment will be coming up at 1 p.m. on this channel, and I will see you all then.